Alright guys, hope you're all keeping well and staying safe. Title Update 11 is coming out next Tuesday, the 22nd, along with Season 3 after 2 phases of PTS which end this Friday. Now this title update was meant to address various live game topics like rainbow rolls, mods, general PvE and PvP balance, along with introduce some new content. And with the PTS coming to an end, and on a more positive note, I just wanted to go over kind of the best changes and additions coming with TU11 and the impact this is going to have. Now if you enjoyed this one, the best way to support me is just to watch the video until the end. You can become a member here on YouTube if you like the video as well, comment and subscribe for Division content. And with that said, let's get into this. Now before we start, let me just quickly address the comments coming about the not so good stuff coming with Title Update 11, or stuff that hasn't quite made it. And I'm sure we all know what those are at this point because I've covered them at length prior to this video coming out. I'm in the process of scripting a video about these things further, the title of this video being something like Title Update 11.1 has to come out right now, so hold fire, this will be coming. Today I wanted to just focus on what is coming and the positives associated with them, and with that out of the way, let's go through the list here. They're in no particular order, so for number 1, it's rainbow rolls. Now a big focus of Title Update 11 was to really kind of focus on the feedback surrounding the frequency of rainbow rolls within the live game. Now at first the devs announced during State of the Game they were going to test a system whereby the first attribute would guarantee a match with the core attribute. Something I previously spoke about prior to that announcement as a potential fix, but changed my opinion following some very strong evidence of how this would affect the loot game. Now once announced, the devs received the same feedback that I did, which is that if you guarantee the first attribute matching the core, whilst it sounds great on paper, it does make some current roles and some current builds within the live game impossible to make, actually narrowing the builds available. The devs agreed before the PTS went live, and they reduced this 100% guaranteed roll to an unknown percentage. Now through the PTS feedback, it appeared to land on 60%, where 60% of the time the first attribute will match the core, and more recently, feedback I've seen suggests this might even be higher now, and actually up to about 80%. Now if you agree that rainbow rolls are each colour on one piece of gear, so you have red, blue and yellow, if that's what you would define as a rainbow roll, the chances of this happening, they're going to be very low. I believe it's going to be probably under 5%. The good news is that rainbow rolls are going to be way less frequent when TU11 goes live. And that is what the overwhelming majority wanted, myself included. Number 2 is Agnostic Mods. Now with TU11, mods are no longer going to be color coded, but instead be generic or agnostic. And let me just clarify that. Mod slots are no longer going to be color coded. The mods themselves are still going to be color coded. They're still going to be red, yellow and blue, but the slots themselves are not going to be, they're going to be generic. Now this means that instead of having to put a red mod in a red mod slot, you can put any mod in any mod slot, and this is going to vastly increase the flexibility in builds, which is always good, but also remove the hidden knowledge of fixed or random mod slots, something I'm sure a lot of people don't know all that much about. I myself forget all of the time which mod slots on what gear are fixed rolls or random rolls. So this system will remove that, which I think is great. I'm excited to not only see what builds I can make with these restrictions now removed, but probably more exciting to me is seeing what builds the community comes out with, because I'm sure there's going to be some crazy ones coming here on YouTube, especially when you consider the new gear that's coming to the game. And on the same vein of mods, just quickly, another great addition are the 2 new resistance mods in Snare and Confusion. Number 3 is new gear. Now, as with every large kind of update that comes with a season, especially with a season, we get new gear, weapons and other stuff. Now that we know what is coming, I'm particularly excited for the new gear set, Hunter's Fury. Now this gear set looks really strong, and I actually had a chance to test this myself when I played the private server before the PTS came out. And whilst it doesn't really fit into my current playstyle, I think that's why I'm really excited to use it. Now I've been using the same build for a long time now. It's a hybrid DPS skill build with an M1A in sync and perfectly future perfects. And I spend most of my time in cover because of my chest piece, but also because, you know, I play from a distance with an M1A whilst my turret and my drone do most of the work. And it's a very static playstyle. It's very effective, but it's very static. Hunter's Fury is the opposite. It's a close quarters DPS set with survivability potential within a hybrid build, say with the new Belson Armory brand set. And this is probably the most excited I've been for a new gear set since launch, just because I'm going to be farming this gear set to do something that I don't normally do in the game, and that's actually move around a lot and get in the face of NPCs and be within that kind of 10 meter range. I'm normally sat at about 30 meters, and my skills do everything pretty much. Now, I'm going to be doing something completely different, and I'm excited to play the game a different way. So, hopefully, this gear set is going to be a great addition to the game. Number 4 is the Summit. Now, as I mentioned at the start, I will be addressing some of the things missing from the Summit in a future video, because there's a lot. But aside from that, I'm genuinely excited to play this game mode, especially with the news that you can skip the first 50 levels and start at level 51. You know, it's new content, it's a game mode, it's not a mission, and I'm all for game modes over missions. I'm excited to try and make my way to the top, although based on what I've seen, and with the recent news of exotic fire teams in Legendary, it's likely I'm not going to get to the top without a team. Now this mode should crave that itch for somewhat replayable ? And with the news of more and more iterating on this mode to come, first starting with TU11.1 and then into the future, I'm excited to see how this develops. Sure, it's not perfect, it's nowhere near perfect, but it has a lot of potential, and that's what I'm excited for. Number 5 is Memento. Now I've spoken about this before, but the new exotic backpack Memento is going to be top of my list of gear to get when TU11 goes live. Now, we don't know where to get this from, but I'm 100% sure this will come from the reward track, most likely midway through, as I expect the new exotic SMG backfire to come from level 100. I hope it's that way around. I hope I don't have to get to level 100 in the reward track to actually get the Memento, and that way I only have to farm, say, half of the reward track to actually get it and play with it. I want to get it as soon as possible. This backpack is going to be one of the strongest, if not the strongest pieces of gear in the game. It's unique in that it has 3 core attributes: weapon damage, armor, and skill tier, with the talents fitting any playstyle really, meaning this backpack will likely be the best in slot regardless of what build you are running. Now that might not be true, but that's the potential here, and I'm excited to see how builds are going to evolve around this backpack, because you're going to find that a lot of builds are going to put the backpack there and they're going to make builds around it. It's not going to be the other way around. Obtaining this backpack will be my number 1 priority when TU11 goes live. Number 6 is Transmog. Now, whilst this wasn't a feature on my list of many features I'd like to see, and if it were, it would likely be near the bottom, it is a good addition to the game. Now, I do remember back in the Division when this was a feature requested, and I have seen the same feedback with this game. So this is clearly going to please, some people, and you may be one of them. Transmog would allow you to take any piece of gear in the game, which will now have a new appearance mod slot, and make that gear look like any other piece of gear in the game aside from exotics. The good news is, because this feature has been implemented through a new mod slot, it means that it is going to be saved into your loadouts, which is excellent. Without trying to deviate from the positivity of this video, this won't be a feature I spend a whole lot of time with, but for some of you, this is going to be a great addition, and it's one of those things that should have been in the game probably from day one. I'm glad it's finally coming. Number 7 is PvP balancing. Now, TU11 was predominantly focused on PvE related issues, but the devs did want to address some of the most vocal issues with PvP balance, which I believe they've done. Have they gone all the way? Have they fixed PvP? Absolutely not. But I still want to praise them for what they have done here. I'm not really praise them, but I still want to say that I'm more excited than I was to actually play some PvP prior to TU11 coming out. Now, those issues are the riot foam, the fire on break armor talent, and just general weapon balancing. With phase 2 of the PTS, the devs did confirm the ensnare duration from riot foam has been reduced from 3 seconds to 2 seconds, which is good news. And I suspect they will make further changes if this isn't enough, whether that's just to reduce it more or just overhaul how it works in PvP completely. The fire on break talent from Firewall has been removed from PvP as well, which has to be one of the best changes they could have made here, because that was by far the most frustrating thing for me when I actually did play PvP a couple of months ago. Now, great news as well is the retraction of changes made with TU10.1 to rifles, snipers and pistols, and the increase in time to kill. This should mean that these gun classes now feel much better with TU11, and the time to kill is a little bit longer. Does this address everything, as I said? Absolutely Absolutely not. But these are some great steps that I think the PvP community are going to be happy about. And for number 8 is the Iron Horse Discovery Mode. Now, quite simply, it's about time. Iron Horse Discovery Mode will be accessible from the 22nd. Be warned though, whilst there are plenty of guides out there now, there is tons and tons of them, this is going to be vastly more difficult to run with matchmaking than Dark Hours, because there's a lot more focus on mechanics being performed at the right time and teamwork. There's a lot of focus on communication, people being stood in the right place at the right time, and I can say that as someone who has done the raid myself. It's very complicated if you're not in a team of people who know what they're doing, and if they don't know what they're doing, it's going to take a long time for people to get used to it. So this is less about damage and this is way more about teamwork, which makes matchmaking a lot more difficult. I'm glad the devs have included this though for TU11. That's it for today's video though, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you did stick around until to the end here and you're hearing me say this, I really do appreciate it. Thanks very much for watching. Hopefully you all have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you on Monday for my next video, and of course Tuesday, where I will be streaming Season 3 and Title Update 11. Until the next one, guys, Epic out.